Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a highly visual journey into what is honestly a totally paradigm-shifting medical framework. We're going to break down this dense but absolutely fascinating 2026 academic white paper that completely reimagines how we understand health, chronic illness, and really the entire purpose of medicine. If you've ever wanted healthcare to feel, a little more human, well, you're definitely in the right place. Let's get right into it.
So, have you ever felt like just a collection of symptoms rather than a whole person? Yeah. It's a super common, deeply frustrating experience. You sit in that doctor's office and somehow your humanity, your daily struggles, your actual lived experience, it all just gets completely lost in this massive sea of medical data, lab values, and isolated diagnoses. You know you're unwell, right? But the system, it just kind of sees you as a set of disconnected parts.
Okay, let's dive into this. Look, internal medicine is undeniably one of the absolute greatest achievements of modern science. I mean, we can manage multi-organ failure and prolong life in ways that are literally miraculous. But when we look at the reality of our medical specialties, cardiology for the heart, pulmonology for the lungs, nephrology for the kidneys, we see exactly how this fragmentation happens. We teach and practice medicine by dividing the patient up into these separate territories. But here's the thing. A patient doesn't experience their body as isolated departments, yet they're often forced to navigate a system that treats them exactly that way. Well, the answer to this might just lie in Dr. Bachara-Sahali's 2026 academic white paper titled Life-Coherent Internal Medicine. And Dr. Sahali argues something incredibly important here. He says we don't need less science to make medicine more humane. We're not throwing biomedicine out the window and starting from scratch. No way. Instead, what we really need is a deeper clinical grammar. We need a way to preserve the amazing, rigorous diagnostic power of modern medicine while actually finding a way to see the patient as a whole, living entity again.
Which brings us to Section 1, Seeing the Living Unity. To really wrap our heads around this framework, we have to start with this concept of the living unity. Drawing on the biological theories of Humberto Maturana, this idea basically states that a living system continuously produces and conserves itself. You are an organism constantly interacting and adapting. You're not a smartphone waiting for a reboot or, a car with a broken carburetor. And this has massive clinical significance. It means a doctor doesn't mechanically command your body to heal with a pill or procedure. Actually, every treatment is more like a perturbation. It interacts with an active, living system, and that system's response depends entirely on its own unique history, structure, and reserves. And that brings us to structural coupling. Now, I know that sounds like a super dense academic term, but it really just means the continuous interaction where an organism and its environment co-determine a history of structural change. Think about it like this. A patient's illness is rarely located solely inside their body. If someone has diabetes, their biology is structurally coupled to things like their food systems, their sleep, their financial stress, their work demands. The social world literally becomes biological through repeated interaction. Illness is heavily conserved by the very conditions of a person's physical and social world. All right, moving on to Section 2, the hidden energy gap. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the vital, fascinating distinction between an energy deficit and an energy gap. Conventional medicine, it is great at spotting an energy deficit. That's when you just lack a fuel input. You're anemic, you lack oxygen, or your thyroid is low. Simple enough. But an energy gap is an entirely different beast. An energy gap happens when the demand for energy exceeds your mitochondria's ability to actually transform that fuel into usable capacity. You might have perfectly normal blood tests, normal oxygen, normal glucose, and yet you are still chronically exhausted, suffering from brain fog, or completely crashing after exercise. Recognizing this gap is honestly revolutionary because it removes the moral injury for patients. If you feel terrible but your basic labs come back perfectly normal, you aren't crazy and you aren't unmotivated. Your body is simply failing to transform available resources into usable vitality. Let's pivot to Section 3, the clinical loop. Okay, take a look at this. This is the life-coherent clinical loop, and it completely transforms clinical reasoning right at the bedside. It doesn't throw away standard medicine, it expands it. You see, standard medicine often stops at identifying the danger and naming the syndrome. Job done, right? But this loop keeps going. It asks the doctor to identify what specific life capacity has actually failed, map the environmental conditions locking that failure in place, choose a wise perturbation, and then carefully observe the trajectory of repair. So here is how it actually works in practice. First, you always stabilize danger. We still absolutely need acute medicine. If there's a heart attack or sepsis, you have to act fast. Second, distinguish the syndrome. But then, for step 3, we slow down. We locate capacity failure. Is this a failure of oxygenation, clearance, or energy transformation? Fourth, we map coupling conditions, basically asking what in their life is conserving this illness. Fifth, we perturb wisely, meaning we intervene to reopen viable life with the absolute least harm possible. And finally, number 6, we observe the repair trajectory. We don't just check if a lab number ticked up or down. We ask, is the patient actually regaining their life capacity? Which brings us to our final major topic, Section 4, restoring the whole patient. And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world difference. When a patient presents with fatigue, the conventional question is just what diagnosis explains this, right? But the life-coherent question goes way deeper. It asks, why can this person not transform available conditions into usable capacity? When a patient has dyspnea, shortness of breath, we don't just ask if it's a heart or lung problem. We ask, where is the capacity for oxygenation, flow, or even threat physiology failing? It's a subtle but totally profound transition from merely treating a diagnosis to actively targeting the restoration of a person's life capacity. Now, to truly achieve that restoration, we have to zoom back out to the macro level, to what the paper calls the civil commons. We're talking about the big stuff: clean water, breathable air, nourishing food systems, safe housing, and social trust. So the absolutely crucial point is this. Because of structural coupling, damaged social infrastructure directly creates chronic biological illness. When the civil commons is damaged, human bodies absorb the consequences. Chronic disease is literally the biological ledger of social incoherence. This means doctors aren't just mechanics fixing broken parts anymore. They are vital witnesses to systemic failures that harm human life. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly powerful question from the white paper. What must be restored so that this person can live again? It challenges us to move beyond the mere suppression of disease and push toward the active generation of health. So the next time you feel unwell, ask yourself, is your body broken, or is it just responding perfectly to a fractured environment? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning.